The following video was recorded live on Twitch, and it's an honest and constructive review of a showreel from one of my subscribers. You might think that this review is only useful to the artist in question, but I really believe that watching other people's reviews is a great way to improve your skill set and develop your eye for detail. Not to mention, it gives you an idea of what to expect from a visual effects supervisor like myself, and it serves as a guide on how to make a successful showreel. Remember, you can always submit your work for review on my Discord page, and then watch it live on Twitch. Hope you enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below. Jump into Aziz showreel. So starting with the first shots, I don't have much to say here on the first shot. I think it's terrific. I love the way that you're showcasing your matte painting skills. It's really well done, although I do have something to say. I feel like you've missed a trick here, and obviously, as I said, it's difficult to give feedback if it's a real production. It's difficult to get feedback, but immediately my eyes saw that you have blur here but not there. And so, although this shot looks fantastic, it is a bit strange that you have depth of field problems here. So you see, we have she's sharp, the table is sharp, and then these bushes are sharp. Then by the time you get to here, it starts to get blurry. And then by the time you get to this bush here, it starts to get blurry as well. But then the mountain is actually sharper than that bush. And I think that's one of the problems. You kind of want to make sure you have a consistent depth of field. And I understand, because you might want to keep the mountain sharp, or maybe this was a feedback from a client. But if that's the case, if the client requested for the mountain to be sharp, then you need to make sure these bushes are also sharp. So either you put, I would personally put the bushes sharp. Apart from that, I think the shot is terrific. The key looks really good. The compositing looks really nice. I like your little birds. That's really nice. The tracking looks on point. I think you did a really good job there. It's a shame I can't see the raw plate. Is there any way you could show the actual original plate? It would have been nice for us to see the actual breakdown by watching the actual original plate you've done. Anyway, moving on. This shot here, creating the environment, light shadow, matte extraction, compositing, color correction. I'm going to be very picky. Like, I think these light sources, these rectangulars, should be bouncing light, you know? If they are actually self-illuminated, I think they should be bouncing blue into the floor, yellow to the floor, and red to the floor. And also, they should be bouncing to him. So as soon as his feet is here, it should have a layer should have a rim light of blue. And you should have a little bit of blue around him. And basically, you have fake a little rim light around his feet. The same goes for the next shot, though. And the other thing as well that I would say is that your boxes are not matching the blurriness. If you look here carefully, if you look at the actual layer that is actually on set, this white box, it's not matching the blurriness and the really soft lines of the actual CG. So you need to match these two, okay? Otherwise, it's going to look a bit fake. Anyway, as I was saying, if I was on set supervising this shoot, I would have actually put actual proper lights on these boxes, you know? I know they put some blue and some yellow and some red, but it should have been so much more powerful. Because you see the CG is so bright. But again, you know, especially here when you do the contact, you see here, I'm missing here, you know, like you get the red, yes, but you see how strange it is that the sneaker is not getting redder. So you see, it's always the same light, because as it goes into the floor, it should be redder and redder and redder. And by the time it hits the floor, it should be super red here, because it's so much light bouncing into the sneaker. So this could be very easily fixed by just using a ramp with the color correction. So I would just get a color corrector in, I would attach a ramp into it, and then I would tone up the reds on the gammas on that shot. I would definitely do that. The key looks good. That's all good. Although I think it is a bit strange that we're getting this hard edge here of blues. You might want to look into that, because there's nothing in the shot that would produce that. You see, he's on a white environment, right? So if you look here, it's a really diffuse environment. So if you were like, and I know that it wasn't, like the reality is not, because you see it's quite dark actually, and they have a lot of darkness. They should have put like some bounce lights on the top there. So basically put some floodlights on the top so that it would fill the area with diffuse. Because as soon as you've removed them and put all white, that means that there shouldn't have never been this dark. You see, this shouldn't have never been here, because this darkness, where is this darkness coming from? We are on a white environment why isn't it not white? So what I would say is that I would go in here to Nuke and I would use a roto soft mask around this area. And then I would use the lift function to lift this block up to white. I would really do that because you need to kind of remove all these hard shadows. You also have a hard shadow there. You also have a hard shadow on the top there. All these hard shadows need to go because there's no, like this is a diffuse environment, okay? So be careful with that. Now, this shot here, compositing through 2D and 3D elements, morphing, motion, extraction, and final look. The CG looks great. The integrations you've made look great. I do have just a couple of things I would say. You actually had a better, you know, when they shot this, you see they shot it over green. Again, if I was on set, I would have lifted the light with more spotlights because if they're inside a bathroom, there should have been a lot of bounce light inside a bathroom because a bathroom usually has tiles. And if there's tiles, there's a bunch of light bouncing around in the air. The other thing as well that you have a problem with is the actual integration of the shadows. Look closely here. What is going on here? There's no way the feet should look like that. So basically you have a dark, like you have a black edge on this side. Then you have a black edge going on here. Like the shadow looks really strange. Let's go back and go to the, and look at your shadows. That's like a really problem with your shadow. It's like a wobbly like problem there. And if I go to the original, oh, there's also that. What is that? What is that, man? It's just one frame that it just shows up. That shouldn't be there. I can see everything. So nothing will, yeah, you can actually see that there's like a black edge around this top of the, and if I go back to my original plate of green screen, let's go back to the original plate. You see, when I look at the original plate in CG, there's no black edge. So, and also your shadows are quite soft. You have really soft contact shadows. And these contact shadows somehow became super black. They're super dark. So your black point is not really on point with the shot, you know. If you look at the shadows of everything, like look at the shadow of this thing, look at the shadow of that thing, look at the shadow, like there's no way your shadow should be that dark. And this is for both characters, this guy as well. His shadow is darker than the shadow of the washing machine, and that's not correct. But obviously you need to understand that it's a balance, okay? Sometimes you don't have time to fix things, okay? So sometimes you need to make a choice between the budget, the production time, and the quality you're going to deliver. You just have to be upfront on that. If you tell your client, if you tell your producer, we don't have enough time to do this shot properly, then they need to know, you know, and then you can tell them, okay, guys, we cannot do this perfectly. We're going to have to like do it a bit more worse, you know, and as long as they're okay with that, then it's fine. Now, this shot here, you have a couple of problems here. I would say that your key is not really working. First of all, I can still see the green on the hand here. So there's still a little bit of green spill going on here. And this is coming from the motion blur. You see there's no green, and then there's green there, and then there's no green again. So you have one frame with green. So what I would suggest for you to do is you would go into Nuke, and with a mask or a clone, you just like fix just this frame. The other thing I would say is that your key on the hair, it looks a bit rough. Like I can kind of see that you have a little bit too much blur, but then again, you might not have. It's very hard for me to judge because I never see the original footage. You never show me the green screen. So because you never show me the green screen, I don't really know what was there before, but it looks to me like you've edge blurred too much. And I can see that through here, through this hair, because it looks like this lock of hair shouldn't be that blurred, because you see the lock of hair there is not as blurred. So you might want to be careful with your key. I think it's a bit rough, and especially here on this side. I would never believe that the hair would be gray. That's like, she's not an old lady, so the hair would never be that gray. I think there's something wrong there. But again, I'm nitpicking. I think your showreel is great. I just think just trying to make it even better, you know. Let's see here. Then you go into this shot here. Now, this shot has a perspective problem. This was not correctly shot on set. Was this with the motion control or something? Well, first of all, there's a bit of a shift on perspective that is really strange. It almost looks like he's on the wrong perspective when he floats. I don't know, like there's something very strange with this shot, man. I think it's the fact that they probably shot it with a handheld instead of shooting it. Was this actually shot with a motion control rig? because I don't think it was it? Is this motion control rig? You also have something really strange happening on this. What happened here? Like when you go from this shot, you see the ball? The ball basically does this, and then one frame on the other, it makes this weird shadow thing, and then again it goes back to normal. So there's something very strange happening on your ball. I know you can't see it when I'm floating, like playing back, but you can't really, there's something really strange going on here. So see if you can fix that. Also, it's a shame that your motion blur doesn't have enough steps, you know? You might want to improve the stepping on your motion blur so that you don't have, I can kind of see that it has 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. So you want to make sure and you can kind of see it here as well, you want to up the steps on the motion blur so that you actually have a smooth motion blur. Okay, it wasn't motion control. Yeah, you can kind of tell that it wasn't motion control. You also have something going on up there, which is really strange for some reason. For some reason, there's like a halo of blue that goes away and comes back. So you see, we start. Oh, that's the flare. Never mind, that's the flare. It's a flare. I think it's a flare. It's a good shot, man. Don't get me wrong. I think you did good, but there's just something strange going on with the motion blur quality. If you feel like it's an old project, maybe you want to consider dropping it from the reel, you know? I would, at least, because it's not as good as the other shots. Now, this shot here... Oh, that was too fast. I need to go back again. So, yeah, I'm not really sure what's happening here, because that shot looks good, and then suddenly... we get these really strange apples. I guess this is a CG apple, but you're not really doing it correctly, man, because the CG apple doesn't look as real as the regular apple. You see here, like your apple is missing, like according to the environment, you see, you have a lot of light coming in, you have a lot of sun hitting the apples on one side, and you can kind of see that the sun is kind of not there anymore. Obviously, I can see that you toned down the sun on the hand as well to try to compensate. But I just feel like the apple is too dark. It doesn't have enough speculars. Even if the sun was a bit limited, I can see the specular on this apple. I can see the specular on that apple. I can see the specular light coming in on the hand and also on the bouquets there. But then you've missed completely having bouquets, having any kind of light on the apple itself. And then there's a pulsating thing going on here. Is that like a patch that you've done there? That's really strange, man. Because it's kind of like, maybe it's the compression from Vimeo, but what happened to this apple? Like, did you reverse it or something? Because it's not really, it's almost like the apple was down, but then now it's like reversed to that side. Yeah, man, it's something weird here. Like, the original shot looks so much better. So much better. I would really try to use as much, if I was doing this shot, I would have reused the apples that I had, and then I would duplicate them or try to integrate certain CG apples, but I would keep the main apple, because the main apple is where your eyes are looking at. And right now you've replaced it with a CG apple that doesn't really work. And there's something going on here. There's just some kind of weird patch that you have here. Almost looks like a bad cloning or something. I'm not sure what's going on here. And also, like, look at your leaf. The leaf is also not working. Like, look at how this leaf is really beautiful. The sun is hitting it. You have some scattering. You have some transparency. And now your leaf is really opaque. It's super opaque. It's like really thick and really saturated. It should never be that saturated. You see, the green should be much more muted. And at the moment, it has no transparency. They wanted a small apple. Yeah, well, yeah, but were they happy? If they were happy, that's fine, but I just feel like there's a lot of problems with this shot. Like the lighting is a bit strange, the lack of specularity is strange. There's a bit of a problem here with the bubblery thing. Yeah, it's a patch, okay. Well, if you thought that no one saw the patch, I saw the patch. I saw the patch immediately, and also the leaf also needs some work. So this shot is not very good, man. Now, this one here, look, wait, that was quick. Gonna go back here. So this shot looks really good, but I have a couple of things to say. So you see, I'm assuming the client wanted to be a sunny day, right? And that's fine, and they can make it a sunny day. But if they want to make it a sunny day, you cannot have so much fake glow and light wrap, okay? So first of all, this one on the corner here. So what's happening here, man? You see, there's no light wrapping, obviously, because this is not sun. It's not a sunny day. It's like a really cast day. But then you have this weird white outline around the edges there, and then a really blurry diffuse, which is really strange. So I think you need to look into that. These edges are not working. I'm not sure if that's a matte painting If it's a matte painting, yeah, it is matte painting. So if it's a matte painting, that means to me, that kind of shows to me that you didn't properly do a good key there. Okay, so you need to up your skills on edge on Photoshop, because there's a lot of bad edges here and white edges which are not working for this matte painting. Another problem you have here, look at this. We have this rock which you've reused, right? But you couldn't bother to use the same edges. So basically you've invented some new edges, which looks really strange. I would have kept the original edges because they look so much better, and I would have kept those edges there. The other thing you have a problem with is that for some reason we have a diffuse light happening on the top of the rocks, but behind it there's another rock. So there shouldn't be any diffuse going on here. So that's a bit strange. And then the other thing I would say is this. Look here. There is no way, unless this is like a reflector, there is no way in the world that ever sand would reflect that much, okay? So you need to reduce this glow by half, okay? I just feel like this glow needs to be at least half, because there's no way the sun would hit this sand and bounce so much diffuse all over the place. It's just very unrealistic. It would never do that much. And the other thing as well that you have to be careful is, even though I know that you're trying to make it to look like it's sunny, there's no excuse for you to make it saturated, okay? So you see the grass was fine at that color, but then it becomes super saturated, so it has a really strange tint of green, and I just think you went a bit too far. Everything else looks fine, although I would really look into this boat. I think the boat is too blurred. I think you lack detail on the boat. Everything else looks fine. So, and then, oh man, look at that. Just saw something else. I shouldn't look at that. You have light trap on the other side. So this is a common problem. So it's okay to have light trap, but you have light trap on the left, on the right side, which shouldn't be there, because you see that's the end of the bush. And the reason why you have this light trap is because on Nuke, you need to extend your edges so that your light trap doesn't use the alpha channel as a limit. Okay, so that's the problem you have there. So you need to be careful with your light trapping edges there. And this is a very common mistake that happens when you have light trapping done this way. Now this shot here, let's move on. Look at this shot here. Yeah, so it looks okay, but I just feel like your depth of field is, well, is not really perfect, because if you think about it, just scroll through here. Okay, so look at the statue that you have there, right? So you see the amount of depth of field you have on the statue, and you see the amount of bokeh that you have on the top of the statue, right? And so that's the reference. And now as soon as you put a CG object there, you've ignored that and put less blur. You see, there's not enough blur and enough bokeh happening on these statues. They're not matching. They look almost like a defocus, and you should really get the bokeh feeling from it. If you look at here, you see how you have like a chromatic aberration of blue going across the shirt there. Even before, when I go a bit earlier here, when we go to this part of the shot, I'm just gonna... You see that? You see that really nice bokeh and that nice feeling of vignetting and that really nice feeling of chromatic aberration going on the edges. Like, you're not really having that on the CG. The CG is missing that. Look at this and look at that. It looks really smudgy. So you need to improve detail. You basically need to punch the CG with some more speculars so that they ping on the depth of field. But it does look good, but it could look better. You know, that's what I would say. Oh, wait a minute. You also did some skin work on her. At least you wrote that. Additional skin. Smoothing actor skin, additional lights. Okay, so where's the skin? Oh, yeah, okay, I see that. There it is. It's not much, though. But yeah, it's enough. She looked fine, by the way. I don't know why they have to fix this. But clients, man. Clients are always clients, man. Just a little bit more to the left. Just a little bit more to the right. Just a little bit more to the left. Just a bit more to the right. There's nothing I can say about this. Okay, so move on to the next shot. Okay. This is probably your worst shot. That CG, man, it looks horrible. Like, I'm sorry to tell you. You know why it looks horrible? Because they all look the same. No one runs the same way, you know? Like, and I just feel it's weird. They all running the same way. They should have broken up the run, you know? Like, they should have had different runners, different legs, different rhythms. People never run the same way. They always run slightly different, and it just looks weird. It's the only thing that really makes the shot look weird. It's the running, you know? Everything else looks fine, but the repetition just makes it really look awkward, you know. I would remove this shot. Now this shot here, this shot is also not very good. I mean, the integration of your CG is not really looking good. Like if you go in here to this environment, you see, I would never believe that this stone is actually here because it's not picking up any specularity. It's not picking up almost any HDR from the environment, and you have way too much glow on these ribbons. You know, they just spill too much glow. So I would definitely tweak that. I am sorry, I'm giving you so much feedback, okay? I think your showreel looks terrific, and I don't want you to like think that this is bad work. It's not. I just feel like you have better work in the beginning, you know, of the showreel. Like for example, this shot here, this shot on night shot, this does not look good enough, you know, especially because we see how the original looked, you know. See, that's how the original should look like. We have all these spots and we have all this kind of detail of light pouncing by, and then when you replace it, it's all gone. So it's like you're not using the raw plate as a reference, you know. And I think that shot just doesn't look good enough. The back looks good, but not the front. But then also there's no parallax as well. Like as you see, like there's no parallax between this object and that object and that object, and there should be. So we should be seeing these objects should be moving faster than this and that, because obviously there's like parallaxing that you're missing, you know. This is a nice shot, man. I definitely would keep these. These are really nice. Typical pack shots. They look really cool. Oh, wait a minute. I've missed that one. Yeah, stabilization and cleanup. That's all good. I mean, I don't see any problems whatsoever. Stabilization looks rock solid. Yeah, don't really have any issues with anything. So, and the cleanup also looks really good as well. Yeah, all good. This shot here, again, we have the same issue as before. Your CG is just not holding up, you see. And the problem is that because you have the original plates there, you see, I can kind of see the details of the rocks there. And then you replace it with something that has no detail, you see. We had a lot of detail on the rocks there. They look really sharp and they look really pretty. They have a lot of like a lot of sharpness to them. And then they just look really blurred on your matte painting. I just think you need to be careful. There's also a bit of a shake, so I can kind of see the track is not holding up. You see that's moving sideways, and it's not. You can kind of see that there's like a tethering problem with your track. Like the track is not really holding up. So you see that? And also your perspective shift is a bit strange. And overall, the CG just looks too soft, and you're just like using the original and not really using it. So yeah, I would be careful with that. Because it's not a good transition, you know. Anyway, thank you so much for sharing the showreel with me. And again, thank you so much for thanking me at the end of the showreel. I am very thankful that you've done that. I hope you've enjoyed the showreel review. One thing I didn't say, just telling you what you should keep and what you shouldn't keep. I would keep the first shot for sure, if you can fix those problems. I would keep this shot if you can fix the problems. I would also keep this one. I would also keep this one. I might not keep this one. I think this will never work. I think the perspective is too strange. So I might not keep this. I would definitely not keep the apple if you can't fix it, because it just looks really bad in terms of CG integration. I would not keep it. If you can fix it, better, you know. I would keep this, but I would fix those edges and that blur and that diffuse. I would definitely keep this. Maybe if you could fix the CG, that would be nice. I don't think I would keep this shot. I think it doesn't look good enough. I don't think I would keep this shot. Unless you want to show rotoscoping. Maybe you show it as a rotoscoping task, maybe. I would definitely not keep this shot. The matte painting does not have parallax and it's not well integrated. I would definitely keep the bottle shot. The bottle shot looks great, so I would keep that. I would definitely keep this shot as well with the car. Looks great. I would not keep this shot. I would remove it as well. So you see, you probably have like 4 shots that I would remove. That would be what I would do, okay? It's just because those shots are bringing your showreel down, you know? You want to make sure your showreel is all perfect. You don't want to really have any issues on your showreel, okay? Okay, so like I said, I'm going to do a break, 5 minutes. So I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 5 minutes.